8 actors Quentin Tarantino hates more than Paul Dano. Ranked. Iconic director and not-so-terrible actor Quentin Tarantino has recently talked about his hatred for Paul Dano. During his appearance on the Bret Easton Ellis podcast, Tarantino talked about Paul Dano's performance in There Will Be Blood. Although Tarantino admitted that he did love the film, the director was relentless in insulting Paul Dano and his acting skills, which, according to him, made the film weak. Well, although Quentin Tarantino would have had his reasons for hating on Paul Dano, he isn't the only star that Tarantino has a bone to pick with. Here are 8 other actors that Quentin Tarantino hates more than Paul Dano, ranked by the level of hateness. Matthew Lillard. Well, Tarantino has never really worked with Matthew Lillard, though the actor is quite famous for his roles in the Scream movies as well as the live-action Scooby-Doo franchise. Although never having really worked together, Quentin Tarantino had his opinions about Matthew Lillard which came quite unprompted during the said Bret Easton Ellis podcast. Well, harsher words couldn't have been said about Matthew Lillard since he is quite a good actor in the iconic movies that he has done so far. Owen Wilson. There have been 2 instances of Tarantino not liking Owen Wilson's acting and his comedic skills. The first instance comes from a decade-old interview with Howard Stern when Tarantino talked about Midnight in Paris. However, this wasn't the end of it, since while talking badly about Paul Dano, Tarantino also went on to name-drop Owen Wilson alongside Matthew Lillard as well as Paul Dano in the Bret Easton Ellis podcast. So, it seems pretty obvious that Quentin Tarantino has hatred towards Owen Wilson at some level, alongside Matthew Lillard and Paul Dano. Robert De Niro. Although it has never been confirmed, there was an alleged on-set feud between Quentin Tarantino and veteran actor Robert De Niro while they were working together on Jackie Brown. According to a Reddit forum, there was allegedly a leaked phone call between Tarantino and Harvey Weinstein, with Tarantino detailing how De Niro would call him randomly in the night and yell and scream and call him a. Although it was never confirmed, Tarantino also allegedly called De Niro's on-set behavior diva-like, with talks of unfair pay on Tarantino's end to Robert De Niro. Even if they had any feud, it was resolved, with the director appearing in photos and meeting Robert De Niro occasionally. Kevin Costner has never worked with Quentin Tarantino. However, there is a matter of philosophical difference between Tarantino's heroes and Kevin Costner's on what American heroes are supposed to look like. According to Film Lore on YouTube, Kevin Costner built his career by portraying upright American heroes with morals, values, and standing for the greater good. Add space. On the other hand, Quentin Tarantino's heroes were criminals, gangsters, fraudsters, and cheats who discover redemption through guilty means throughout a movie. Tarantino allegedly calls it sanitized American heroism and fears that Costner's films are actually false propaganda. In an alleged 2019 interview, Tarantino said the following. Bruce Willis. Another actor who had an alleged fight with Quentin Tarantino during filmmaking, Bruce Willis, was cast in the role of Butch in Tarantino's 1994 film, Pulp Fiction. However, it wasn't an ideal experience since Willis, having come off the success of Die Hard, hoped that the role would be a bit more action-savvy. However, the character of Butch held his punches back, and when he unleashed them, it wasn't much of a fair fight for the opponent. According to Film Lore, there were alleged reports of Bruce Willis and Quentin Tarantino fighting on the sets of Pulp Fiction about Butch's character and what each moment represented for the character. Willis was allegedly short-sighted when it came to his characters, while Tarantino had long-term plans for Butch, increasing the conflict between the two. Although neither Tarantino nor Bruce Willis has ever addressed this alleged conflict during Pulp Fiction, it could have been a reality for a while. Miles Chapin. Not just the actor, but the 1981 film, The Funhouse, became the cause of Quentin Tarantino's hatred towards Miles Chapin. Starring in low-tier films, Tarantino made his feelings known in the book Cinema Speculation that he is allergic to Chapin. As the days continued, Tarantino continued to hate on more actors, including the remaining 2 actors on this list. George Clooney. This one was quite personal. For reasons unknown, Quentin Tarantino revealed in an interview that he didn't consider George Clooney a movie star. This irked Clooney, and he revealed to GQ magazine about how Quentin said some about me recently. The context included Tarantino recalling the movie stars and naming Brad Pitt, but when the interviewer asked him, "What about Clooney?" Tarantino responded that he did not consider Clooney a movie star. Lawrence Tierney. Finally, the infamous confrontation between Quentin Tarantino and Lawrence Tierney is quite legendary. While on the sets of Reservoir Dogs, Tarantino recalled that Tierney was a nightmare to work with. Talking to TMZ, the director recalled that while filming Reservoir Dogs, which was his proper directorial debut, he couldn't stand Lawrence Tierney and the two ended up in a physical altercation. Well, that was that for a while, and Tarantino was afraid that he might have just doomed his Hollywood career. However, peace was eventually brokered between Tierney and Tarantino. Which actor do you think Quentin Tarantino hates the most? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.